Picture this for a moment. You've just finished dinner. Looking at the empty plate, you feel pleasantly full, and outwardly your body seems calm. Everything looks perfect. But right now, in this very moment, something remarkable is happening inside your body. Even in this instant, sugar is beginning to flood into your blood. And not just a little. Hundreds of milligrams of glucose are pouring into your blood vessels every minute. Your pancreas senses this change. It literally screams for help and pumps out insulin like mad. Now it's your muscles' turn to decide whether or not to listen to this signal. Will they take in the glucose or ignore it? Within the next 10 minutes, you'll make a single choice. A very simple choice that can reshape your entire metabolism. Most people think timing doesn't matter. They think walking any time after a meal, morning, noon, or night, is all the same. But recent research has finally revealed something. Walking right after you eat has a completely different effect on your body than walking before you eat. The hormones released are different, the energy sources mobilized are different, and the outcome inside your cells is different. The most astonishing part, according to a study published in 2025, walking just 10 minutes at the right timing controls blood sugar far better than walking 30 minutes at the wrong timing. This is not an exaggeration. 10 minutes overwhelmingly beats 30. Please remember this. You're about to understand what mechanisms are working inside your body, and why timing is the most underrated tool for controlling your future health. Your blood vessels are a transport system, like a highway. But after a meal, they get overloaded. Sugar pours out, not slowly, but very fast. Within 30 to 60 minutes, blood sugar spikes sharply. It starts around 90 milligrams per deciliter, the normal baseline. 30 minutes after eating, it rises to 140. That's the spike. After 60 minutes, it climbs above 180, maybe even to 200. This isn't just a number on a test. It means your body is under stress. It's real, measurable cellular stress, inflammation at the molecular level. Every time blood sugar spikes and crashes, this process creates something called oxidative stress. Imagine invisible rust forming on the inside of your blood vessels. You can't see it or feel it, but it's definitely happening. Over weeks, months, years, these repeated spikes damage the endothelial cells, the thin arterial cell layer that is the most important shield between your blood and your heart. A single layer of cells. That's the entire shield standing between you and cardiovascular disease. Here's what many people miss. This isn't just a diabetes story. It's not only a problem for people who are overweight or have a family history. Research shows that post-meal high blood sugar is directly linked to cardiovascular disease, cognitive decline, and even dementia, regardless of whether you have diabetes. It doesn't matter if you're metabolically healthy right now, if you've never had a blood sugar problem, or if you're young and fit. Your peak glucose during a meal predicts your risk of heart disease 10 years from now. Your ability to control blood sugar right now is deciding your health a decade later. Persistently high blood sugar after meals is a major cause of raised HbA1c, your glycated hemoglobin. HbA1c is your average blood sugar over 3 months, like a report card for your metabolism. When it rises, your risk of death from cardiovascular disease rises directly. Your future isn't fixed yet, but those blood sugar spikes are writing that future right now. Every meal is a moment of choice, and a single spike can turn the direction of your future health. What happens when blood sugar spikes repeatedly? Not an isolated event, but a chain reaction that flows through the whole body, a domino effect. The first domino, immune activation. Your body perceives a sudden glucose rise as a threat and treats it as stress. White blood cells activate, and your cells produce inflammatory markers like cytokines and C-reactive protein. But this inflammation doesn't target only the sugar, it spreads throughout the body, to arteries, joints, the brain, organs. This chronic, low-grade inflammation is the root of modern diseases: heart disease, stroke, cancer, Alzheimer's, autoimmune conditions. The second domino, the insulin surge, triggers metabolic stress. The pancreas pumps out insulin like mad to force glucose into cells. The beta cells that make insulin get overworked. It doesn't break overnight. But after years of daily spikes, the beta cells become utterly exhausted. They can no longer make insulin properly, and when the pancreas loses its function, that's when type 2 diabetes begins. The third domino, a plunge in energy that brings intense hunger. When blood sugar spikes to 180, the body panics. It's too high. So insulin forces glucose into muscle, liver, and fat tissue. Then blood sugar drops sharply to 70, 60, even 50. This is reactive hypoglycemia. The brain, which runs on glucose, sends out intense hunger signals to survive. That's why an unbearable craving hits you in the afternoon. Eat again, spike again, crash again, hungry again. It becomes a vicious cycle, almost like an addiction. This isn't a lack of willpower or laziness. The body is simply biochemically hooked on a roller coaster blood sugar cycle. Let me show you what actually happens inside your body over time. Year 1, no obvious symptoms. Your energy dips a bit in the afternoon, you feel peckish around 2 o'clock. But out of sight, the endothelial cells are being damaged and inflammation is quietly piling up. Years 2 to 3, you gain weight without eating more, you feel bloated after meals, and your sleep quality drops, with brain fog setting in. But most people just blame stress or age and never connect it to their post-meal blood sugar pattern. At 5 years and beyond, the damage becomes visible. A checkup shows high cholesterol or rising blood pressure, fasting glucose climbs, and HbA1c reaches the prediabetes range. You might be diagnosed with metabolic syndrome, a cluster of high blood pressure, high blood sugar, high cholesterol, and abdominal obesity. Only now do you get worried and try to change something, but 5 years of damage has already accumulated. At 10 years and beyond, it can lead to a heart attack or stroke, type 2 diabetes, memory decline, and a higher risk of dementia. The future written by countless past spikes becomes reality. This is exactly why timing matters. You have to block these spikes right now, before it becomes irreversible. But remember, your body is not broken. This is what people misunderstand most. Your body is not your enemy. In fact, it's incredibly smart, simply adapting perfectly to the environment you've created. Your muscles are like a sophisticated warehouse with a smart lock. They store glucose, but only open the door with the right key and signal. Usually, insulin is that key. But here's a game-changing fact: there's a completely independent second key, called muscle contraction. It works with no relation to insulin at all, even when insulin isn't doing its job. When we walk and our muscles contract, a transport protein called GLUT4 is activated. Thousands of tiny doors on the muscle cell surface open automatically, and these doors suck glucose directly out of the blood, like a vacuum cleaner. No insulin needed. This powerful backup system has been in your body your whole life, but most people never use it. They sit still after a meal, letting sugar pile up. But you can stop that starting today. Let's look at the first scenario: walking in the morning, in a fasted state of 10 to 12 hours. No new glucose has entered, but you're not starving or in danger. Your liver holds a sugar battery called glycogen, and after 12 hours of fasting, that battery is fairly empty. Your blood insulin is at its most stable and quiet. When you start walking, your muscles contract and demand energy, but there's no new glucose. So the body pulls out an elegant solution: it breaks down stored fat. An enzyme called hormone-sensitive lipase unlocks the fat cells, sending free fatty acids into the blood, and the muscles burn those fatty acids for energy. In this moment, you literally become a fat-burning machine. Why does the body do this? Because it's flexible and intelligent. When no food comes in, it exercises its ability to switch fuel sources, called metabolic flexibility. Do fasted walking consistently, and this flexibility maxes out, as your mitochondria get better and better at breaking down fat. The body is redesigned into one that burns fat efficiently. According to a meta-analysis in a nutrition journal, fasted aerobic exercise raised the fat oxidation rate by up to 23% compared to doing it after a meal. Even after the walk ends, the crucial thing is that the GLUT4 doors on the muscle surface stay open for hours. This is the golden window. If you eat breakfast 30 minutes to an hour after walking, whether it's oatmeal, fruit, or eggs, your muscles are already waiting with the doors wide open. Glucose is absorbed into the muscle very quickly, and insulin doesn't have to pour out. Blood sugar rises gently and smoothly. No terrible spike, no inflammation, no cell damage. Your pancreas gets to rest, your insulin sensitivity improves, and that brutal 2 p.m. slump disappears. But there's an important caution. Fasted exercise, especially if it's intense or too long, can raise cortisol. For those already short on sleep or under heavy stress, it can do more harm than good. Excessive fasted cardio can raise cortisol too much, add belly fat, and cause adrenal fatigue. That's why gentle walking is far better than intense running. Listen to the signals your body sends when fasted. Now for the second scenario, where most people miss their chance, and where the benefit of timing shows up most dramatically. You eat an ordinary meal with carbs, rice, bread, fruit. Within minutes, your stomach breaks it down and glucose pours into your blood. The pancreas sounds the alarm and pumps out insulin. But if you're lying on the couch or sitting at a desk, your muscles don't need energy, so they ignore the insulin signal and shut the door. Glucose gets trapped in the blood, and insulin keeps climbing to force it in. This is post-meal high blood sugar. Within 30 to 60 minutes, blood sugar spikes to 180, 200, even 220. Now change the picture. Instead of 30 minutes later, right after you finish eating, you start walking at a light, comfortable pace. Immediate magic happens in your cells. As the muscles contract, GLUT4 transporters pop right up to the cell surface and absorb blood glucose directly, without insulin's help. Instead of spiking to 180, blood sugar gently stops at 150, 140, or even 125. This isn't just a number. It's a life-changing figure that protects your cardiovascular system, lowers inflammation, and saves your cells. A landmark study published in Nature's Scientific Reports in 2025 proves this. Walking 10 minutes right after a meal lowered blood sugar far more effectively than a 30-minute walk started 30 minutes after the meal. 10 minutes right after eating completely beats 30 minutes later. Why? If you wait 30 minutes, blood sugar has already spiked and the cell damage and inflammation have already begun. It's closing the barn door after the horse has bolted. But if you move within 2 or 3 minutes of eating, you catch the glucose right at the threshold as it enters the blood, and stop the spike from even starting. Even if you walk for 10 minutes and sit back down, the magic doesn't stop. Your muscles stay highly sensitive to insulin for hours, and the blood sugar curve stays smooth instead of stabbing upward. In that study, participants who walked 10 minutes immediately after eating had a much lower total glucose burden over 2 hours, lower average blood sugar, and, most importantly, a lower peak than those who sat still. Even more surprising, walking immediately felt easier and less tiring. And there was no stomach discomfort, bloating, or nausea. In fact, gentle walking stimulates the gut's movement, aiding digestion and easing the stomach. Your body isn't fighting you, it's cooperating with you. Do 10 minutes of walking after each meal, 3 times a day, and fundamental changes happen at the cellular and genetic level. Weeks 1 to 2, your post-meal energy improves, afternoon fatigue fades, and digestion gets better. Weeks 3 to 4, nighttime blood sugar crashes decrease and sleep quality improves dramatically. After 2 or 3 months, mitochondria multiply, insulin receptors grow sensitive, and HbA1c drops back to normal. After 4 to 6 months, the risk of cardiovascular disease, dementia, and metabolic syndrome falls, hormones stabilize, and your weight naturally finds its place. A meta-analysis of obese adults found that even 2 to 5 minutes of walking after a meal significantly reduced blood sugar and insulin responses. That's shorter than brushing your teeth. For decades, many guidelines said, walk 30 minutes after eating, for the simple reason that moving right after a meal would upset the stomach. But the latest science flipped that advice. In a 2025 study, healthy young adults without metabolic disease drank 75 grams of glucose, and 3 groups were compared, sitting still, walking 10 minutes immediately, and walking 30 minutes starting 30 minutes later. The result was a clear win for the immediate 10-minute group. Total glucose burden, average blood sugar, and peak were all overwhelmingly the lowest. Walking 30 minutes later was better than not walking, but couldn't match the immediate 10 minutes, because the spike had already passed. When you walk immediately after eating, an enzyme called AMPK, a cellular energy sensor, is activated and opens the glucose doors without insulin. That's why post-meal walking is powerful even for people with insulin resistance or diabetes. To sum up, fasted walking restores lost metabolic flexibility, your ability to burn fat, while post-meal walking raises insulin sensitivity and slows metabolic aging. The ideal is to combine both. If you're healthy, take a gentle 15 to 20-minute fasted walk before breakfast, and walk 10 minutes after each meal. That builds a flexible body with both fat burning and blood sugar control power. But an important point, not everyone should do fasted walking. If you're pregnant, have a history of an eating disorder, have type 1 diabetes, have high stress hormones from chronic fatigue or lack of sleep, or feel shaky and dizzy when fasted, avoid it. That's your body asking for food. You have to listen to it. Post-meal walking, on the other hand, is safe for everyone, pregnant women, diabetics, the elderly. It's a universal prescription with no side effects. Now let's apply it to daily life. No gym membership, no expensive gear needed. After breakfast, lunch, and dinner, just stand up. Walk around the house, take a lap around the neighborhood, or march in place while watching TV. Move for just 10 minutes. That's all. Busy parents, walk while the kids play after dinner. Office workers, walk outside or take the stairs after lunch. If you're retired, make post-meal walking your own peaceful ritual. If mobility is hard, move very slowly, even for just 1 minute, in place. Even that 1 minute changes your body. This isn't about extreme dieting. Just give your body one simple signal, 10 minutes, and it will repay you with enormous gratitude. Stop fighting your body. When you start cooperating with it, everything changes. What surprised you most in today's story? Was it that your body is trying to protect you, not ruin you? If you've walked after meals and felt easier digestion or less fatigue, share it in the comments. Your story could be the answer someone worn down by endless fatigue and weight gain truly needs. You can do this. Our bodies are far smarter than we think. Don't fight your body. Walk with it.